Senior-level employee misconduct and AML risk. Senior executives, board members, and other high-ranking officials occupy positions of trust and authority, making potential misconduct involving these individuals particularly significant from an AML/CFT perspective. Because senior personnel often influence governance, compliance culture, risk management, and strategic decision-making, suspicious behavior at this level can expose institutions to substantial regulatory, legal, operational, and reputational risks. The CAMS framework emphasizes that AML controls should apply consistently across all organizational levels, regardless of an individual's position or authority. Institutions must ensure that senior leaders are subject to the same standards of accountability, transparency, and compliance oversight as all other employees. Addressing potential AML issues involving senior executives. When a senior executive or board member is suspected of involvement in potentially suspicious activity, institutions should follow established governance and escalation procedures while maintaining independence and confidentiality. Investigations should be handled objectively and free from undue influence by the individual under review. Depending on the circumstances, oversight may involve independent directors, audit committees, compliance committees, legal counsel, or external investigators. Relevant evidence should be preserved, and access to sensitive information should be restricted to authorized personnel. The CAMS framework stresses that institutions must avoid conflicts of interest and ensure that seniority does not interfere with appropriate investigation, escalation, remediation, or reporting decisions. Governance model for executive-level investigations. A structured governance model is essential when investigating senior personnel. The process generally includes allegation assessment, evidence preservation, independent investigation, escalation, legal review, and board oversight. Significant findings should be communicated to independent governance bodies capable of exercising objective judgment. Institutions may engage external counsel, forensic specialists, or independent auditors when necessary to enhance credibility and objectivity. Regulatory reporting obligations, suspicious activity reporting requirements, and employment considerations should be evaluated carefully throughout the investigation. Effective governance demonstrates that the institution maintains a strong culture of compliance and accountability regardless of an individual's rank, influence, or organizational position. Importance of effective interview techniques. Interviews are among the most valuable investigative tools available during AML inquiries because they help investigators gather information, clarify facts, identify inconsistencies, and assess explanations provided by relevant parties. Effective interviewing requires preparation, professionalism, objectivity, and a thorough understanding of the investigation's objectives. The CAMS framework emphasizes that interviews should focus on fact-finding rather than accusation. Investigators should establish rapport, encourage cooperation, and maintain a neutral tone throughout the process. Well-conducted interviews can provide critical context for transactional activity, customer relationships, employee actions, and other evidence while supporting informed decision-making during financial crime investigations. Structured interview methodology. A successful AML interview generally follows a structured methodology consisting of preparation, introduction, information gathering, clarification, verification, and documentation. Investigators should review relevant records before the interview and develop questions tailored to the facts of the case. Open-ended questions are particularly valuable because they encourage detailed responses and reduce the risk of leading the interviewee. As the interview progresses, investigators may use more focused questions to clarify inconsistencies or obtain additional details. Active listening, observation of behavioral cues, and careful note-taking support effective information collection. Comprehensive documentation ensures that interview findings can be evaluated and referenced during subsequent investigative activities. Interviewing potentially involved parties. When interviewing individuals potentially involved in suspicious activity, investigators should maintain professionalism, fairness, and confidentiality. Questions should focus on understanding transactions, business relationships, account activity, decision-making processes, and supporting documentation. Investigators should avoid assumptions and allow interviewees opportunities to provide explanations. Contradictory statements, evasive responses, unexplained gaps in information, or inconsistencies with documentary evidence may warrant additional inquiry. In complex investigations, multiple interviews may be conducted to compare accounts and validate information. The CAMS framework stresses that interviews should complement documentary evidence and analytical findings rather than serve as the sole basis for investigative conclusions. Public source data and open source intelligence. Publicly available information is an important resource for AML investigations because it provides independent sources of data that can support customer due diligence, enhanced due diligence, and investigative analysis. Common public sources include corporate registries, court records, government databases, sanctions lists, regulatory filings, property records, bankruptcy records, professional licensing databases, and public procurement information. News articles, adverse media reports, and publicly available Internet content may also provide valuable intelligence regarding customers, beneficial owners, business activities, criminal allegations, or reputational concerns. The CAMS framework encourages investigators to use reliable and verifiable sources when gathering external information. Comprehensive investigation information sources. A comprehensive AML investigation often combines internal and external information sources to develop a complete understanding of the subject under review. Internal sources may include customer due diligence files, account records, transaction histories, wire transfer data, suspicious activity alerts, sanction screening results, prior investigations, and employee records. External sources may include financial intelligence databases, law enforcement requests, regulatory publications, public records.